40 of them stood there. That was the count I had. 40 Veth warriors in a circle around one human woman. And not one of them had moved in 6 minutes. That should have told them something. Lieutenant Mara Voss didn't turn around. She already knew they were closing in. She could hear the scrape of their footpads on the stone floor, the low vibration they used to talk to each other about where their prey was. She had read the reports. She knew what Veth hunting formations looked like. She pulled out a ball of yarn. It was red and cheap, the kind you find in any grandma's knitting basket back on Earth. The nearest Veth warrior, 12 feet tall, with 3 rows of teeth and a kill record that went across 6 worlds, tilted its head to one side. It had no idea what it was looking at. The other 39 didn't either. Mara crouched down slowly and carefully, like she had all day. She put the end of the yarn on the cold stone floor, held it between 2 fingers, and then, without looking up, she rolled the ball forward. It went maybe 3 feet. Then it stopped. Then a small shape came out from behind a column and pounced on it. Then another did. Then 3 more did. 5 Veth cubs, none of them than 2 seasons, had been hiding in the ruins of the scout post. Their parents, the 40 warriors forming the kill circle, had brought them along on what was supposed to be a job. A single human trespasser. No weapons. No backup signal. Easy, except now the cubs were fighting over a ball of red yarn, making the high-pitched noise that Veth cubs make when they forget they're supposed to be scary. The circle broke. Not in a way. Not all once. The 3 warriors closest to the cubs, the mothers I guessed from where they were standing, actually stepped out of line. Their feathers went flat. They stopped focusing on killing. Mara finally stood up. She looked at the warrior right in the eye, something you're never supposed to do with a Veth that's hunting, and said in perfect high Veth, "Your young are curious. That is a sign in any species." There was silence, real silence, the kind that feels heavy. The warrior's feathers changed color fast. In Veth body language that meant processing, confused, reassessing. Mara waited. She was good at waiting. She'd been stuck at Outpost Keller 9 for 11 months without any help. She'd learned to understand Veth behavior from reports and one secret journal left behind by a researcher who never made a home. She'd had a lot of time to think. She'd thought about this moment. Because the Veth hadn't come to talk. They were going to, whether they knew it yet. Not. The leader of the warriors was called Veth Carathel. At least that is what Mara thought it was. She had seen the name on a stone marker 3 kilometers back. The marker had the name of the pack leader on it. Mara had learned this from a journal she was not supposed to have. Carathel had not moved all. Its feathers were now a single color, a deep amber color. Mara had spent a lot of time learning what the different colors meant. Amber meant that Carathel was waiting for Mara to explain something. This was a sign. Behind Mara, the little Veth creatures were playing with a ball of yarn. They had already undone half of it. 2 of them were tangled up in the yarn, were rolling around on the ground. They seemed to be very happy. Another one had taken the rest of the yarn, hidden it behind a wall. This little creature was guarding the yarn seriously. Some of the warriors were watching the creatures. 3 of them had stopped doing what they were doing to watch. 7 more were watching those 3 warriors. The warriors were still in a circle around Mara. They did not seem as sure of themselves as they had before. Mara knew that if they were not sure of themselves, then maybe something could be done. Mara spoke again. "I came into your territory without asking," she said. "I am not going to say that I did not do this." Carathuel's throat started to pulse. This meant that Carathel had heard Mara and wanted her to continue. "The humans had a place behind me," Mara said. "Your pack destroyed it 7 months ago. 11 humans died. I was the one who stayed." The feathers on Carathuel's body changed color. They had a bit of dark blue on the tips. Dark blue could mean things. It could mean that Carathel was sad or that Carathel was proud. Mara thought that Carathel was probably wondering why Mara was telling her this. "I stayed," Mara said, "because I wanted to understand why your pack did what it did." It was very quiet for a moment. One of the creatures made a loud noise and managed to get out of the yarn. It looked around. saw that all of the warriors were staring at it. Then it lay back down in the yarn, pretended that nothing was wrong. Some more warriors moved a bit to see what the noise was. Mara wanted to smile. She did not. You destroyed the place, Mara said, because we were taking something out of the ground that we should not have been taking. I know this. It was hurting your babies. How many of your babies survived that season? Carathul became still. It was not the stillness of a creature that is hunting. It was the stillness of a creature that has just realized something. Mara knew that only 3 of the babies had survived. She had found the markers where they were buried. The markers were stones that were carefully arranged. The Veth took care of their dead, in a way, but they did take care of them. Mara had spent a lot of time near the markers just sitting there. She had not touched anything, written anything down. She had just been there. I stopped the humans from taking things out of the ground, Mara said. I did this 7 months ago when I saw how many babies had died. Carathul's feathers turned white. In the Veth language, white meant one thing: shock. White feathers meant shock. They didn't stay white for long. Mara watched the color change move through Carathul like a wave. The white turned into gold, then deeper amber. Then there was a red color at the base of the throat feathers. It pulsed in a rhythm. Mara had never seen that color before. She noted it down, kept breathing. Behind her, the cubs found out that if you bite the yarn and run, the ball follows you. They thought this was the important thing ever. 2 of them were now running in directions with the same piece of string. This was going to end. It did. They crashed into each other behind a column. It sounded like they were really happy. 6 warriors stopped forming a circle. 6 of them. Now there was a gap enough to walk through. Mara didn't move towards it. That was important. She could have. She didn't. This wasn't about escaping. It was never about escaping. If she wanted to escape, she would have sent a distress signal 7 months ago. She would have been rescued within 48 hours. She chose not to do that. Carathul finally spoke. The sound was low, had many layers. Veth's speech uses 3 frequencies at the time. With 11 months of practice, Mara only understood about 70% of it. 70% was enough. You stopped the mining by yourself, without your commanders knowing. It wasn't a question. Yes, Mara said. They will punish you for this. Probably, she agreed. They don't know yet. The throat sac pulsed again, slower this time. Why? Carathul asked. The dead were your people. Mara thought about the question. She always thought about questions. Her mother taught her that the fastest way to lose someone's trust was to answer before thinking. Yes, she said, finally. They were my people. I was angry about that. I have journals to prove it. She paused. Anger doesn't bring back dead cubs. More dying doesn't either. The red color at Carathul's throat got deeper. In the ruins, one of the cubs got the yarn wrapped around its leg. It was spinning around, trying to catch it. It made a funny sound. Mara hadn't laughed that hard in 11 months. She noticed the warriors around her were shifting. They weren't being aggressive. It was something they couldn't help. They were watching their young, too. The resonance shelf, Carathul said slowly. Is it still intact? Undisturbed, Mara confirmed. I have data. 7 months of it. The breeding call frequency is recovering in the corridor. There was silence. Then, quietly, Carathul asked a question Mara had been hoping for and dreading for a year. What do you want from us human? Mara took a breath. A conversation, she said. Just that. The amber feathers flickered. About what? About what happens. What happens next? 3 words that carried a lot of weight for 2 kinds of beings. Carathul was quiet for a time. Enough for 2 more fighters to quietly step out of line to get some cubs who had wandered too far into the ruins. Long enough that the circle, which was once a killing machine, had become more like a loose group of very big animals pretending they weren't distracted by little ones. Mara waited. She was really good at waiting. Finally, Carathul put its hunting feathers against its back, completely flat. This was a deal, and 3 nearby warriors flinched when they saw it. Flat feathers meant, I am not hunting you anymore. It was like a flag for the Veth. Mara breathed out slowly through her nose, kept her face neutral. She didn't want to show relief quickly, because that would look weak to the Veth. She had survived 11 months alone by being careful. "Speak," Carathel said. "I will listen." Mara reached into her jacket pocket. Not for a gun. Not for a phone. She pulled out a piece of paper. Real paper. She had started printing on it during month 2 when her tablet broke. She couldn't fix it. It was a habit. Her grandmother used to keep paper records. She unfolded it carefully. It was a map, hand-drawn. 7 months of watching drawn in lines. The special shelf under the outpost where the Veth breed, the mining drill sites, and the 2 she had shut down herself. She held it out. Carathel looked at it for a moment, then crouched down, slowly on purpose, a big creature, making itself smaller, and studied the map with golden eyes that caught every detail. "This path," Carathel said, one claw hovering over the line without touching the paper. "It is blocked." "Rockfall from the construction," Mara said. "Month 3. I marked it. We lost a breeding pair there." "I know. I found the markers." The feathers pulsed once slowly. "You visited them." "I sat near them," Mara said carefully. "I didn't touch anything. I didn't write it down. I thought someone should be there, even if it was me." The red color came back to Carathuel's throat, deeper than before. It spread to the feathers on its shoulders, a color Mara had never seen on a Veth before. She still didn't know what it meant. One of the cubs appeared between them. Just appeared. Trotted into the conversation with the confidence of a creature that had never been told the world was dangerous. It looked up at Mara with golden eyes, then it looked at the paper map, then it sat on the paper map. Carathel made a sound Mara had never heard from a Veth warrior before. Low, warm, not something you can control. It took her seconds to realize what it was. Laughter, real laughter. Something changed in the air between them. Laughter changed everything. It did not happen away. It did not happen in a way. It was like when the temperature changes by 1 degree, and that makes all the difference between ice and water. Something important changed between Mara and Carathel when the warriors started laughing. The other warriors who were nearby heard it. They all moved their feathers at the time. It was like a wave of yellow feathers moving through the group, like a fire spreading from one hill to another. They knew what the sound was. They did not think they would hear it here. Carathel did not expect to laugh, because the laughter stopped as soon as it started. The little cub was still looking at the map, trying to eat one corner of it. Mara carefully took the paper away from the cub. The cub looked at her hands at the paper, and then it put one big paw on her boot and looked up at her. The cub seemed to be saying that Mara was okay, and that it was being nice to her. Mara looked down at the cub. She had been alone for 11 months. For 11 months she had been talking to walls, reading journals, and sitting near places where people were buried waiting for something to happen. She was not even sure what she was waiting for. Mara felt something moving inside her. She did not want to show it. She looked back at Carathel. "The third place where we were digging," she said, her voice steady. "The one I could not get to. It is still working. It is being controlled from the place where people live. They do not know that I stopped the 2 yet, because it takes time for them to get my messages. 9 days. Carathuel's feathers stopped moving. 9 days, the warrior said. After that they will know something is wrong, Mara said. They will send people to fix it. Maybe they will send security guards. Mara folded the map carefully around the part that the cub had chewed. If the third drill is still working when they get here, the conversation will be different. It will not be about the land, it will be about who's responsible and who has the right to be here. Mara looked directly at Carathuel's eyes. I need to get to that drill, she said. I need to know the way through the tunnels. I need to do it in 9 days. There was silence. It was a silence. The kind of silence that makes people want to talk. Mara had learned that with the Veth, you should not fill the silence with words. You should let them think. You should treat the silence like a gift. Mara waited. The cub on her boot had fallen asleep. It had just fallen to the side, put its face under its paw, and gone to sleep leaning against her ankle. 3 warriors were looking at this. Carathel looked at the cub for a time. Then it looked back at Mara. The red color on its neck had spread all the way to the top of its head now. Mara asked, "What is that color called?" "I do not have it in my records." Carathul was quiet for another moment. Then it said, "In your language, the closest word would be reconsidering." Reconsidering. Mara thought about this word. It was the thing anyone had said to her in a long time. 11 months. She didn't push for information. She just nodded once. It was a movement. She had learned that the Veth understood it as, "I hear you and I won't push for more." Then she looked down at the one sleeping by her boot. The little one was snoring. It was a sound. It didn't fit with the talk about making peace between different species. Carathul looked at the one too. Then it did something. It sat down. It put its legs under its body. It looked like it was saying, "I'm not going anywhere." The other Veth did the same. There were 40 of them. They sat in a circle around Mara, the ones, and a ball of torn red yarn. They weren't in a fighting position anymore. Something else had taken its place. "Tell me about the tunnel," Carathul said. "The system," Mara replied. "I know there are 3 ways. The closest one is 4 kilometers from here. There's drilling equipment 2 kilometers in. It's where the resonance shelf is strongest." She stopped. "I tried to get twice. The tunnel has paths. I got lost both times." "You went alone," Carathul said. "It wasn't a question." "I did," Mara said. "That wasn't smart," Carathul said. "No, it wasn't," Mara agreed. Carathul studied the map. One of its claws moved across the path. It drew a line that Mara hadn't seen before. "There's another way in," Carathul said. "Your people didn't find it. It's close to the drilling equipment." Mara looked at the part of her map. She had been going in the way for 11 months. She tried not to show her surprise. "Will you show me?" she asked. Carathul looked at her. Its crown feathers were still brownish red. "There is a condition," Carathul said. "What is it?" Mara asked. "When your team arrives, you won't be alone. You will have a witness. Someone who can confirm what you stopped and why," Carathul said. The Veth would stand with her. Mara felt a change in her breathing. The Veth were taking a risk. They would be seen by the people in charge. She understood what they were offering. She understood what it cost. "You would do that," she said, quietly. For a conversation, Carathul said. Carathul looked at the sleeping one. For more than that, it said. The 4th entrance was where Carathul said it would be. A small crack in the rock face that you would not notice unless you knew where to look. The tunnel was 200 meters long and very straight, with walls that were clearly made by something very old. Something that took its time. Mara did not ask any questions. Some things are better left unexplained. It took them 4 hours to get through the tunnel. Mara, Carathul, and 2 younger Veth warriors were with her. These warriors could move through the tunnel very quietly, like they knew the ground very well. They did not bring any of the baby Veth with them. The babies were left at the ruins with the rest of the group, still playing with the yarn ball and not caring about what was going on in the world. Then they heard the drill. It was very loud, made the ground vibrate. Mara felt the vibration through her boots. It made her teeth hurt. She understood a way why the Veth could not communicate with each other. The noise from the drill would travel far and mess up all the frequencies that the Veth used to find each other. This was not done on purpose. That was the part to accept. Nobody meant to be cruel. They just did not think about what else might be affected by the noise they were making. Mara reached the control panel, started working on it. Her hands moved quickly because she knew this equipment well. She had practiced using it, so she could do it automatically. 40 seconds later, the drill stopped making noise. The silence that followed was very strange. It felt like something was pressing against Mara's ears. It was like the mountain was finally able to breathe after holding its breath for 7 months. Carathul stood still beside Mara. Then from in the tunnel they heard a sound. It was low, had many layers, like it was made up of many different frequencies. It was a Veth breeding call. Another call answered it a seconds later. Mara did not say anything. There was nothing to say because the moment was already perfect. She just stood in the dark with Carathul, listened to the mountain come back to life. After a while, Carathul spoke up. The red color you asked about, the warriors said, quietly. Yes, Mara said. We do not have a word for it, Carathel explained. It is a phrase that means finding something where you did not expect to find anything. Mara thought about this for a moment. That's a color, she said finally. Yes, Carathel agreed. It is very rare. 9 days later, a team of technicians arrived. They found that the 3 drill sites were not working anymore. They also found a hand-drawn map with a corner that was filed as official documentation. They found 1 human lieutenant standing at the outpost boundary with 40 Veth warriors who were not hunting. The technician's report said that the situation was not clear and that they should try to talk to the Veth right away. The Colonial Command talked about it for 6 weeks. The Veth just waited. Mara was very patient. In the ruins, 5 baby Veth had discovered that if you unwound the yarn all the way, you could wrap a whole column in red string. They thought this was very fun. 40 predators, 1 ball of yarn, and a color that means finding something where you expected nothing. Drop your favorite moment from this story in the comments. I read every single one. And subscribe because the next story hits just as hard.